Hello, welcome to this edition of Growing Wisdom, and today we're going to talk about two plants which are good for lower spots, maybe smaller gardens, maybe even a Japanese garden, something like that. So let's get right to it. Here's the first plant we want to take a look at. This is a little azalea. It's called Azalea kiusianum Best Pink, and the best pink is the key here. Look at how wonderful these little pink flowers look. They're very tight to the plant itself. The plant has relatively slow growth. Now, if you were wanting to keep it small, you could always take off these branches. Sometimes this happens. You get a branch that kind of comes up like this. You could snip that off, or if you leave it, eventually the plant will get a little bit higher. So this is the low azalea. It's good for a rock garden, perhaps maybe even a Japanese garden. I've got it as a foundation plant, so I have very little space in this particular yard here between the house and the lawn. And we don't want something that's going to get that big, and we also don't want something that's going to come up and start hiding those windows there. So we're using this little azalea, and we've got some spring flowers around here. It's a fill-in spot, and this should do well. It gets morning sun, a little bit of afternoon shade. If it does get dry, you definitely want to water it a little bit. Eventually, it will become established, and it's a relatively evergreen plant. As well, it's good to zone 5, so it's semi-evergreen. So in other words, it'll lose some of its leaves during the course of the winter, but it will hold some percentage of them depending on the type of winter and where you are. The milder it is, the more leaves it will hold. Azalea, Best Pink, Azalea kiusianum. Plant number 2. This is Phlox subulata, and this is candy stripe. And look at that. You can see why it's called candy stripe as I zoom in there. Let's get you a little closer look to this. Now, this again is a lower plant. It's going to spread. It will not grow very tall, but it'll spread. And what I'm hoping is it kind of covers some of these little rocks here. You could put this near a wall, maybe a cascading wall or something like that. I'm using it here because everything here pretty much is low. There'll be snow in the winter. It'll get piled on top of this. And I don't want a plant that's going to get broken. So most of this is perennials. We've got a couple of low bush blueberry here as well. But Phlox candy stripe, a very hardy plant, loves full sun. It is going to spread. As I said, good for rock gardens, so similar to the plant we just saw, and hardy to zone 3. So those of you in the very colder spots of the United States could definitely add that to your garden. So there you have it. We've got a nice little azalea and a little phlox, and they definitely will do well in smaller spaces. For Growing Wisdom, I'm Dave Epstein.